And welcome to Reliving My Youth. My name is Noel. My guest this week is actor Alan Blumenfeld. Now, if there was a television guest star Hall of Fame, Alan's first ballot, having gotten his start over 40 years ago on shows such as Diff'rent Strokes, Cheers, Hill Street Blues, Family Ties, where he was on the show 7 different times playing 7 different characters. Talk about that show. One of his most famous guest starring appearances, in fact, he was on the show twice playing 2 different characters, was on Golden Girls playing Lou the Plumber, and of course, Mr. Haha. We talk about that experience. And he's no stranger to the silver screen as well, having roles in Wargames, Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. In fact, he had a great death scene. We talk about that. And working with some of the greats, such as Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. We talk about that. And if Hollywood needs an actor to be a rabbi, Alan's your guy. He's been a rabbi so many different times. Talk about that. So talk about some of the current events in the business as well. Alan is a real mensch, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with him. So, Alan, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's good to meet you finally, virtually at least.
Yeah, exactly. So one of my favorite shows I watch pretty much every night is Seinfeld, but you weren't on Seinfeld. Another one is Golden Girls, and I usually fall asleep to it. And your episode was with Mr. Haha the Clown, which I started laughing. It's like the first time watching it, and I've seen it probably 50 times already. It's just great. If people don't know, Rose takes Dorothy for her birthday to kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese type place and the big entertainment is Mr. Haha the Clown, and they call up kids to celebrate their birthdays, and they do a couple, and then they just take a quick cutaway to Dorothy, and you see her face, and she knows exactly what's going to happen, and they call her up and stuff like that, and you have a great interaction with her. It's so funny. So I saw that episode recently, and I'm like, I got to reach out, to Alan, because I've seen you in 9 million things, and I'm like, this is just like kismet. It's like I gotta, reach out, and you're gracious enough to come on. So, thanks again. And yeah, you also were on another episode of the show, Lou the Plumber. I think that was like the first season.
Right.
Yeah. So what was like? I don't want to say your favorite character, because I imagine playing Haha, you got to hide behind the makeup, so to speak. So what were your experiences like for both those characters?
It was fantastic. So I'll start from present time and go backward. There were 3 wonderful young men in Chicago who put together a Golden Con
Right.
convention, and they called me and asked me to come for Mr. Haha's Hacienda. I have the T-shirt. I'm not wearing it now. And it was, they were expecting 300 people, and they had 3,500.
Nice.
Had to change the venue, and they had to, it was a whole deal. It was a spectacular experience. I rented a clown suit, and I led a birthday Haha extravaganza. And I'll tell you about that show. I was prepared for people to have the response you had, which is, it's funny, and thank you for the laughs, and it was great. But what I was not prepared for was how many young gay men were there to say that Blanche's brother character on the show comes out.
Right.
So many people, dozens, young men saying that gave me the confidence and the courage to come out to my family.
That's great.
They were very moved and crying. And a lot of people said, my mother, there were so many things like that. One guy said, my mother died, and I hadn't laughed in 2 years. I started watching Golden Girls, and I started laughing again. And that was so gratifying, because, you make these shows, you put them out there in the world. Who knows? It's a popular show. So that's the effect of it, which I found very gratifying and moving. Doing it was fantastic, because I'm a huge fan of those women, and they were wonderfully gracious and kind. And I will say, Mr. Haha gets a pie in the face.
Yep.
And we never did the pie in the face till the take. And so at the end of the take, they hit me with the pie and cut. Everyone laughed. All three women got up, went, "Oh God," and walked away. And I was like, "Really?
Right.
Come on,
Yeah.
comedy. This is vaudeville. You've never taken a pie in the face." So I was a little surprised by that, but I loved. I mean, I felt honored to be part of it.
Yeah. And was B. Arthur barefoot on set?
She was indeed.
Yeah.
She was indeed. Well, had you read that? Is that a thing?
I heard that it was, kind of like an urban legend, and I think Timothy Stack on, and he guest starred, and I asked him, and he's like, yeah, she was barefoot on set. She hated wearing shoes. I'm like, all right, that's amazing. And
No,
she had a written in her contract that she
yeah,
could be barefoot.
yeah, they have to wear, high heels, and it's terribly uncomfortable. So whatever she needs, she's a legend. She was amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing about that show, you think it's like for elderly women, it's going to be a target audience for, you know, elderly people, but the show is universal. I mean, I was watching it when I was 10, 11 years old, loving it. And it's just the humor, the writing, the acting, it's complete package.
In fact, the reboot of Sex in the City, the actors in that reboot are older
Right.
than actresses who played in the Golden Girls when they shot that.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of how we view women, how age is defined by our society. It's indicative of so many things. You could never get that show on the air now. Three elderly. I just did a show last year called Good Trouble,
Right.
and the last 10 episodes of season 5 are on now, and it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. And the woman who, one of the creators, Joanne Johnson, who's a brilliant, wonderful, kind woman, really smart. She says she'd like to work on something that has like a retirement community or assisted living because it's a huge demographic. They're very interesting stories. Um, it's part of the thing. You sit next to an old person and you go, "Oh, here's this nice old woman." And then you find out she was a prima ballerina when she was young. She
Right.
was a United States representative to the whatever, and you just don't know. We take such what is it? We make up stories
Yeah.
that are
I, absolutely. And my grandmother had a filthy mouth. So
yeah,
you wouldn't think, oh, kind of elderly old, woman, but she'd curse up a storm, and it was just, it's fantastic. I always feel now comedy is, I want to say dead, but it's kind of a dark period now because everyone kind of has to watch what they say, not to offend anybody and get canceled. Do you feel that way?
can't fucking stand it. I've got to say, first of all, I believe in diversity. I believe in inclusion. I want more voices heard, but give me a fucking break.
Thank you.
Is so a friend of ours, this happened just last night. My wife is a writer and she's quite wonderful, and she's has a group that she works with reading their plays in early stages to help develop. And one of the women said she wrote a play about a young woman who has a sexual contact with this guy. The young woman ties herself up in a chair and invites this guy to have sex with her. And then all sorts of hilarity ensues.
Right.
But the people in the theater where she wanted to do the play said, "You can't do that. That's sexual assault." And the writer said, "No, the woman did it herself.
Yeah.
She invited this. So it's about playing out a fantasy. It's about almost anything except sexual assault." But what you said is right. Mel Brooks said this. This is the end of comedy. If you can't make fun of everything, then you can't make fun of anything.
Agreed. Yeah.
Lighten up.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I love Blazing Saddles, one of my favorite movies of all time. No
Oh
way that's getting greenlit now.
my God, it's insane. Yes, it was the first movie. My wife and I were together for a year. We were in acting school. It's the first movie we went out on a date and we saw Blazing Saddles.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's a,
Yeah. The very first movie I saw with my wife, we've been together for 30 years now, but we married for 23 coming up. So our very first movie when we were dating was the movie Threesome. So it was just kind of funny, we saw something like that, but no. Kind of, I guess, current events, so to speak. You worked with Al Pacino a couple times, Hunters and Righteous Kill, even though you didn't have a scene with him. I don't want to say it's controversy, but his whole Oscar big, Best Picture announcement, which he just basically read Oppenheimer instead of reading all the nominees. What'd you think of that?
Well, in the moment, I thought he had made a mistake,
Right.
is what everyone thought. But apparently, the producers told him
Yeah.
not to. They were cutting for time. Um, I did work with him. I thought it was Much Ado About Nothing because it was I loved the Oscars. This particular one, other than the in memoriam section, which I thought was horrible, but I loved it. Working. So my first job out of COVID was doing Hunters with Pacino.
Okay.
He and I had a whole day together, 8.5 hours, across the table from each other doing that scene. And man, he is, when the camera's off, he's 5'4", 5 foot. He's a tiny little Italian guy.
Right.
We went to Cafe Trieste in San Francisco. He'd be sitting having espresso with all the other little. But when the camera's on, he's remarkable, and he's improvisational, and he's very connected and very. It was really glorious, and I think basically I think he can do whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, he's Al Pacino.
Right. And yeah, I mean, Italian guy, and I think he played, a Jew perfectly in that movie, in that show. I think he nailed it.
I agree completely.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, like when you like work with like legends like that, do you get a little starstruck, or is that like kind of like over since you've been in the business forever?
No, I get very taken. I've worked with Steve Carell twice on Space Force
Right.
and on Patient, and I'm a huge fan. And like at first, I don't want to come in and go, "Oh my God," I don't want to be an idiot.
Yeah.
But after we're working for a minute, I said, I'm a huge fan. It's not thanks. And then you get to talk as a person and get to know them a little bit as a human. And he was just wonderful. I did a reading of Righteous Kill, and my agent called and said, "You're going to go do a reading. It's going to be at the director's office." And then he gets very quiet and he says, "Pacino and De Niro are going to be there." And I said, "You don't have to whisper. There's no like no one's bugging my phone. I mean."
Right.
And Pacino was lying back, and he was wearing this black T-shirt. He's, "Hey, how you doing?" And De Niro sitting up with a sport coat and glasses on a little string said, "Hello, I'm Bob." And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, this to me is I don't know if it's payoff, but it's a privilege of having worked for such a long time, and I want to keep working. I love it. The privilege is to get to meet and work with these guys.
Right.
People define, I mean, I was originally defined by what I call the Jewish gods of comedy, from Neil Simon and Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner and your show of shows, the
Right.
Sid. That's who I thought I would, wanted to be, and I would do Broadway. I never thought I'd do television. And then as you get older, and people like Pacino and De Niro, and I mean, it just means the world to meet them. And I try to be cool about it at first, and then once you're working, you gotta play the room. Read the room.
Right.
If they're very off on their own, then don't bring it up. But if they're open, then you can say, "Look, I loved your stuff, and what was this like? And what was it?" I'll tell you what I did do. I'm talking too much, but that's
Oh, no,
okay.
you're fine. Yeah.
I did a movie called In Her Shoes
Okay.
with Shirley MacLaine, Cameron Diaz, and Toni Collette, who was magnificent. But Shirley MacLaine was there. I got to dance with Shirley MacLaine at the end of the movie. And there's a wonderful actor named Jerry Adler, who played Hesh on The Sopranos. And he was in it. And so at the end, there's a huge party, and I'm dancing with her, and she dips me right in so I can look backwards into the camera because she watches and then I come off camera and I go over to Jerry Adler, and he says, "Well, now I can die happy. I danced with Shirley MacLaine." He's in his 80s, and he was George Abbott's stage manager in New York. I mean, this guy's been around. And I thought, I'm exactly the same way. I'm so thrilled that I have that experience. And what I found out later was she was a little disappointed that we didn't all ask her to tell us stories about the Rat Pack.
Oh wow. Okay.
Try to be cool, you know. If
Yeah.
I, oh my God, I would have sat at her feet and brought her tea. I mean, yeah. So you never know.
Yeah. Has there been ever anyone you really wanted to work with and like you said, kind of just talk with and they turned out to be like not what you expected?
Well, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, or anything like that. The one that who I loved, God, what was his name? Jesus, he's gone now. Um, oh, I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. He was in Minnie and Moskowitz, and we were in Tin Men together. I can anyway. He just was so indelible when I was young. Minnie and Moskowitz was such a it's a John Cassavetes movie. I don't know if you
Right.
know, but and I met him at the Screen Actors Guild Board of Directors, and he was kind of an asshole. And I was really disappointed because it was like, wow, man, I don't want to know this.
Yeah.
I want to still love you, and so you separate the art from the artist.
Was it John Mahoney?
No, Mahoney
No,
was my
okay. Okay. I'm trying to
no
think.
Purcell,
Oh, okay.
who I loved. I mean, I loved his work,
Yeah.
but he was awesome. Mahoney could not have been sweeter. When we were shooting Tin Man, before he became what he was,
Right.
in Chicago, do Born Yesterday with Glennie Headley. He was magnificent. But Mahoney, we kept talking to him, and I was looking at the playback of one of the scenes. I said, "Man, you're a movie star. You're like a 1930s movie star." I said, "Ah."
Yeah.
He was a very humble. He was a worker. He was a worker actor. He was really inspirational.
Yeah. I mean, like my generation, well, but before Frasier was like say anything. Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, beautiful.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think the first thing I saw you in, it's I can't remember if it was War Games or one of the episodes of Family Ties, but in War Games you played Matthew Broderick's science teacher. And it's a great scene. It's like it's a great punchline, and I love that movie. And he's a fantastic actor.
This is the first movie I shot in L.A. I auditioned for it in San Francisco when oh God, what's his name was going to do it? The guy who did the original Beverly Hills Cop, the director, wonderful director. I auditioned the day my younger son was born, the day my older son was born. I'm sorry, and I dropped my wife off at the. We stayed up all night. The kid was born. I came home. I changed. I showered. On my way back to pick her up, I stopped an audition, and the movie went into turnaround because it was financing fell through. When we moved to LA, it was the first audition I had, and I shot that movie again. I had a great time, and I'd seen Matthew Broderick on off Broadway in oh God, Harvey Firestein, the Torch Song trilogy,
Yeah.
magnificent. And I woke up at 5 o'clock. I went to the set at 6. I was home in time to put my baby to bed, rocking his carriage. We had a proper pram, and I remember sitting there outside, rocking him to sleep, thinking, "That's it. My first day in LA, and now I'm home putting my baby. What the fuck?" But that's because life is just rolls along. It's
Right.
just it was a huge lesson and a great treat. And Family Ties is also one of the first jobs I got. I think it's 84, maybe 85 we shot it, where I played the club owner, Lou.
Yeah.
And Gary Goldberg was a great, great man. I know it sounds ridiculous to say, but he gave me many, many jobs. And that's not why he's a great man. And
Hmm.
that's good taste. I thought he was a really righteous politically, artistically. The stuff he wrote had comedy and pathos. And yeah, Family Ties was one of my deepest heart projects.
Yeah. That show is great. I mean, it still holds up today. I still watch it all the time. And you were on it, I think, 7 times, right? 7 different characters. Yeah.
And no one ever did that. Back in the day, if you did a show as one character, unless they brought that character back, you were done. You burned the show. But Gary said, I don't care. And he had what he called his Ubu players bring us back and every year. And God, I loved it.
Yeah. And I think my favorite one was when their Aunt Trudy passed away.
Ah,
Yeah, they forgot to cancel
the
the garage sale, and they had the wake, and then you showed up, and it was just hysterical. And then you actually showed up to the funeral. It's like that humor. It's brilliant. It's so funny.
Barbara Barry played Aunt
Yeah,
Trudy, great actor. And this was Gary's great gift to combine real laugh out loud humor with real heartfelt, sadness. And that is what life really is, right? It all happens at the same time. And boy, I was sorry when he died, but he hadn't made much. Those days of independent producers like him and Diane English and Bochco, David Kelly still is producing stuff, but those days of independent producers like Bochco, like Gary Goldberg, where they could bring projects to the network and produce it themselves, they're sort of gone. The
right.
studio vertical integration has taken hold again, and I think it's going to eliminate a lot of creativity.
Yeah, I think so, though as well. Now, since you were on that show like 7 times, and like it obviously through the seasons, did the set change? Did the actors change from like the first time you were on there?
No, they added that boy Andy Bonsall. Is that his name?
Yeah, Brian Bonsall. Yeah,
Brian. They added him, and some of the guests came and went. It's where uh,
Michael
Michael
J. Fox. Yeah,
Holland was a guest and came back several times. The set was the same, and I have to say that Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter, who originally should have been the heart of the show, it was about them. When Michael Fox came on and just was obviously America's sweetheart, everyone wisely said, "Okay, pivot," bring the kid in. That's the only thing that changed was, my first episode was when Meredith Baxter auditioned as a folk singer,
right.
and she was the focus. As the years went on, Michael became more and more the focus of the show, which was fabulous. I mean, he was a very generous and brilliant young man, and a ferociously courageous and wonderful actor even now. But no, that show was so elegant, I think, in its comedy and what it did.
Yeah, I had Scott Valentine on a few years ago who played Nick.
Sure.
Yeah, and you were his boss in the shoe store, and that was also a great scene where you thought that him and Michael Gross were together, and it was great.
How is Scott? Is he well?
Yeah, he's doing great. He's doing great. He's on Facebook, we chat, from time to time. He's a really good dude.
I'm gonna have to see. I'll have to friend him. I really loved him. I thought he was just lovely. Yeah, he was a great guy.
Now, like like your thoughts now on streaming.
Well, I mean, I think the quality of television has never been better. I mean, because of all these platforms and all of the streaming, you know, I don't, I'm pissed off when I have to wait a week to see another episode. I like binge viewing. Um, it's not my business to understand the business, although I try to read as much as I can. And I understand, and I'm aware of the fact that everyone made bets on how rich they were all going to get and how oversaturated it is. But I think it's fantastic. I think it's allowed for real creativity. I think the most creative work happening right now is happening on what we used to call cable, on these streaming platforms, Hulu and Amazon and Netflix. And the problem, if there's a problem, the problem has been that they're greedy. They're more greedy than they've ever been. They're run by people who were no interest in the business. Look, Goldwyn and Lou B. Mayer and those guys, Zanuck, they were all businessmen. but they love the movies. These guys could give a shit. David Zaslav, he's just
Correct.
a banker. And Wall Street is everything. So after the strike, Wall Street was delighted because Warner Brothers Discovery had $400 million in cash. And that was great because they liked that. But then they were horrified because they hadn't made any product. And I hate that phrase product. I don't know how else to say it. They hadn't made any stories. So that's the balance that's constantly right, is art and commerce are constantly in a kind of tension. But these guys are just horrible pigs. And I think our last contract negotiation for the union was really important and strong. And I think we've made some real progress. But I think we have to be really careful in the future. What I am most sorry for is what's happened to music.
Yeah.
Spotify, and it's very convenient. Oh, I love having all that shit.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
But the musicians can't make a dollar.
No.
My son has a company called Black Market Music, BLKMKT. He just got co-writing and co-producing on a song that Pitbull made with Dolly
Okay.
called Powerful Women. They have to make like 1 million streams before they make any money.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up because you can't eat your young. You can't gobble up the very people who create the work. Streaming, all new technology has to be carefully gauged. And I believe, and what the fuck do I know, but I think years and years from now, so people are going to look back on all the social media and go, what were they thinking? Because it's too late. You can't claw it back now.
No.
It's out there, but it's so potentially and actually destructive to thinking, to a lot of things, and to allowing, foreign governments to come in and to create disinformation campaigns. And
Yeah. And now the House passed the bill to ban it, and it's going to go to the Senate and see what happens. And, I don't think it'll pass, but you never know.
TikTok is a dangerous thing.
Yeah, it is.
And it's where a lot of people get their news.
Yeah. No one reads more than headlines anymore, and it's all clickbait. And, the truth gets buried well in the story.
Congress, the people in Congress don't understand the technology.
No.
So they can't create legislation to protect. Anyway, getting back to the thing about streamers is the technology needs to be watched and handled and make sure that the artists are protected, the creators, the creatives, all those phrases that drive me kind of nuts. But the artists, the people who create the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the positive, it gets more work for actors with all these different sites.
I think that's true, although a lot of the products a lot of the stories being made, they're looking for the same group of actors the way they always were, even
Right.
before. So, but yes, there's a lot out there. I say more.
Right.
Bring,
And then everyone's gonna like cuts the cord. They just want to have the streaming sites, and there'll be like 12 of them, and they end up paying the same amount you did for cable. So
I pay $200 a month or more.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Until, I mean, I guess like HBO and Max was formed, and I think there was Paramount was talking with Peacock. So I mean, if they can, kind of merge them, I'd be kind of better off, I would think. But for the consumers, rather than have 9 million sites, but who knows?
Well, and I also don't know if I don't know who's advocating for the consumers and whether or not we're being listened to. As I say, I think look, I'm in business. I want to make money. We all need money. Capitalism won. That's the way it is. And yet I would hope there's someone speaking out for, your kids and my
Yeah.
grandkids. I mean, what are they? My grandson is 7. And he's lovely. But man, he watches YouTube. If you give him that phone, he's nonstop. And that's so fucked up. I said, honey, let's watch a movie. Let's watch a cartoon. He would rather watch someone play Fortnite.
Yep.
It's like, why is that? Anyway,
Yeah. I don't
listen to me.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like my youngest is 4.5, and he can work a phone like like a wizard, knows all these sites. He'll play, but I'm like, just play with your cars. Let's play actually, the physical toys and stuff, and which he does. We give him a break and stuff like that. But it's just like they're glued to it, and my daughter, same thing, and they watch all these YouTube videos and Instagrams, and they see everyone having the best part of their life. And then the kids look like, why isn't my life like that? And then they get, very, self-conscious, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all.
And it's not true.
Right, exactly.
It's not showing us anything. It's not showing us reality. But it is the way it is, and
Yeah,
this pass, and then there'll be something else.
exactly. I know you went on an audition last week and you've been doing them obviously for years now. I don't want to, age you or anything like that, but has your process to auditioning changed over the years?
Oh, I hate. Put yourself on tape and send it in. I mean, I miss the rooms. I
Okay.
miss the other actors. And as my friends who are directors say, you don't get any energetic exchange with a tape. I mean, Zoom is great.
Yeah.
You and I can do this. And without technology, you're in Connecticut, I'm in LA, we couldn't do this.
Right.
That's a good thing. But the commercial world is coming back to in-room auditions. I just had the one that I auditioned for the last week. I had a callback, and it was in room, so I was in person. The director, however, couldn't for some reason. So I'm in the room with the guy who runs the session and a camera, and this voice is coming out of the air. Good to meet you, Alan. I'm like, where are you, dude? Um, but it is what it is. And for film and TV, I really, really hate not being in the room. I really hate not having, the opportunity to collaborate.
Right.
But that's the way it is, and it's never coming back. It's too expensive and it's too convenient to do it this way.
Now, do you feel like your performance kind of suffers as a result of just putting yourself on tape?
So that's a very good question. I used to hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Then a friend of mine lives about a mile away. He has a studio in his back house, and we're very good friends, and we love each other, and we like each other's work. So I go, and he tapes me, and I read for him. And I have to say, it makes it better. Now I feel like I'm doing really good work because we play. I'm the kind of guy, with all due respect, if I do 2 or 3 takes of any one scene, that's a lot. There have been times when we've done more, but mainly, I mean, I just did one where we did the first one. I said, let's do it again. We did it 2 more times, and we looked at them and said, the first one was better. So very often, that's just me. I have stay up all night and tape over and over. I would rather pull my eyes out of my head because I'm very critical of myself, and I don't get better often. Um, so my work used to suffer, but since my friend Bruce and I have been working together, it's gotten better. And I just got another audition. I got a call back for a commercial, and I was put on availability, which used to mean something. Those phrases do not appear in our contracts.
Okay.
Availability, first position, they mean nothing. What it means is we're interested. So you can say we're interested. And
Yeah.
anyway, when I went in the room for the callback, I tried to take with me what I had learned from working with Bruce in his house. Try to be playful, try to be relaxed. Just do it once, do it again, let it go, walk away. Because they're looking for this quality. If they want this, they're going to get this. If they want something else,
Right.
and call me again.
Has there been like a particular like actor or few actors that you always went up against for a particular role that you saw each time you were there?
Sure, George Weiner,
Okay.
Paul Rubinek, Bobby Costanza, uh, uh, Kenny Lerner, and his brother Michael. Michael's gone now, I think. When I would, excuse me, I'd walk into a room, and David Paymer, before he became a star, he's a wonderful actor.
Right.
If I'd walk into the audition room and I saw those guys, I'm like, okay, I'm with my guys.
Okay.
But if I walk into a room and I see other people, I'm like, oh, okay. So did I fall off the table? because what am I falling down a notch? Because those are the guys that I expect. And we trade off. Someone score some, and someone score others. That's the other thing I miss, by the way, is I miss being in the room and talking to all the actors, catching up. How you been? And the guys I came up with.
Right. Because I guess with sending in a tape, you really don't know who you're going up against for the role.
And Sarah Isaacson, who's a wonderful casting director, said to my agent once, not long ago, she received as many as 2,500 auditions per role
Wow.
for a particular project. So you're looking at these thumbnail photos. You can't even scroll through 2,500 people. It would take a whole day.
Right.
So I think, like everything, the casting directors have their favorite agents. The agents have the actors they think are best. They go through them first, and if they need more, they get more. But a lot of people feel like, oh, good, look, I have an opportunity. I'm being seen. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But
How many times have you played a rabbi?
uh, when I was many, when I was young, that's great. When I was younger, I played lots of different characters.
Yeah.
Young actor, you think I can do anything.
Right.
Well, that's a lie. The older I get, the more it's Jewy, juju. I am of juju.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take it.
Right.
I'll take it. I mean, I played a rabbi in Gilmore Girls many times. She's a brilliant writer. Very complicated, interesting stories. I played Pacino's rabbi.
Mhm.
Just went up for a new project that Kristen Bell is doing with Adam Brody. I played that rabbi. I don't get that, but I would love that a lot. And the more Jewish roles I'm getting, which I think is fine. I'm happy to do them. I'd like a little more variety, but
Yeah. Right. And one you played, wow, years ago, which I thought was such a great show that kind of had a short shelf life was Brooklyn Bridge, which was
oh,
fantastic.
listen, that's Gary Goldberg again.
Yeah.
That's Goldberg. That's one of the greatest joys of my career. That group, that team. I think I only did 5 or 7, maybe at the most. We were hoping to get another season. Man, we did a scene around a dining table with the magnificent Carol Kane and Louis Zorich, who's gone now, and Amy Aquino and Peter Friedman, one of the great actors, New York based, brilliant. I called it the Baba Ganoush scene because I'm such a. If there's food on the table, I eat it. We're going to do 75 takes. I must have eaten 5 pounds of Baba Ganoush, which I love.
Yeah.
It was, oh my God. And Sam Wiseman was the director. It was a great time. Gary writes, again, very funny and very moving. Family, intergenerational family. And it's the kind of thing that, as you said about Golden Girls, this fits with everyone.
Right.
It's Jews who watch this. I had a friend who said, oh, it reminded me of my Korean family, all the generations coming together.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. That's the show. I mean, it's just about family, and you insert any religion read in there.
Exactly. That's the thing about Fiddler. The guys when they were making Fiddler, and you probably know these stories. They thought, "Wow, this is who the fuck's how many Jews from Long Island can come see this?"
Right.
You do it in China, they say it's the most Chinese story there is,
Yeah.
and wherever, because again, it's fundamentally about family and tradition and
Right.
heartfelt.
Yeah. Yeah. I had Marion Ross on a couple of years ago, and yeah, it was fantastic. She talked so positively about that show. It was.
I will confess, is Marion still alive? I believe she is.
Yeah, she is.
I love her. If she ever hears this, I love and worship her. She came to see my wife and I do a two-hander called Gin Game. The last time I saw her, probably 2018 or 19. Anyway, I love her very much. Some of the best work I did with her. When she first got cast, I thought to myself, they couldn't find a Jewish woman to do this role. And what I didn't realize was the level of respect and dedication to craft and character that Marion
Yeah.
has. And she wanted so much and did achieve such authenticity with that role. I just loved her. There was a scene where she found out I'd had an affair, or I hadn't had an affair, but I almost had an affair. I don't remember even, where she admonishes me. And oh my God, we shot that and we were both crying. It was just, yeah. So, Marion, if you ever hear this, I love you.
Yeah. Yeah, we all do. She's fantastic. Has there ever been a time you watched like a particular show, movie, whatever, and someone who wasn't Jewish was playing a Jewish role, and you just found it like it's just not working?
Well, Alfred Molina, who is a great actor,
Yes.
one of our great actors, did a Fiddler a few years ago on Broadway. The least Jewish production I've ever seen. I've seen it never Zero, saw Herschel Bernardi, my wife saw Luther Adler. I didn't think Topol was particularly right for it. I know he's a huge thing.
Yeah.
He was too Israeli and not Ashkenazi enough. And I thought Alfred was not successful in that role. Other than that, it's not so much that I just, again, equity, diversity, and inclusion, great thing. And I'm a fan. But the Jews are not part of this conversation often. So I don't think you have to be Jewish to play Shylock. In fact, I think that's foolish. But, why not cast a Jew in a Jewish role? Why not go out of your way to make sure Jews are fully represented in front of the camera? And I don't feel there is much of a dedication to that, as much as there should be.
Right. Did you see Bradley Cooper in Maestro?
I loved him.
Okay.
I know he's not Jewish, but man, again, a man who talk about a commitment to dedication, authenticity, and craft. I mean, he would call Carey Mulligan, who was astonishing in the role. We had conversations for over a year, 2 years in character. So he was really trying to create. I mean, it's a little maybe eccentric from my point of view, but you become so steeped in the given circumstances. You become so familiar and enmeshed in the relationship that whatever you do on camera is going to be that much more, rich and substantial. I didn't mind him, and I thought the nose was right, and I thought his kids said the same thing.
So I haven't seen it yet. I'm looking forward to it. It's hard to get to the movies now with kids, and it's not animated.
Totally understand.
Yeah. Yeah, this was, I think, the first year, maybe ever, that I didn't see any of the
Oh,
Best
wow.
Picture nominations. Maybe like 20 minutes of Barbie with my daughter, but I mean that was about it. But
Not this year. Last year, my wife was on the Screen Actors Guild nominating committee. They had live screenings of all the nominated movies with talkbacks with the actors. Saw The Whale with Brendan Fraser and the director and the writer, Robert Hunt. I mean, we saw women talking with all 14 women were there. I mean, that was the greatest year ever. But I totally understand. I mean, this is one of the things. That's where streaming comes in handy.
yeah,
You can do things. You can see a lot of the stuff on Hulu.
right. And the beauty of it now, it's like I think it's about a 45-day window where they're on those sites. It's so quick. Why go to I mean, I love going to the theater, but when you can't, you could just wait a little bit and boom, you watch it in your house. So
I agree.
yeah. Someone approaches you on the street and they go, I know you from what's your response when they can't, say, I know you from, what do you say?
Well, it's always welcome. It depends on my mood. If I'm feeling kind of insecure and unhappy, I tend to say, well, I do TV.
Okay.
Well, good, and it depends on what. Like, I just finished the show Good Trouble, and there's some beautiful episodes. The good man I worked with, Joel Brooks, and Brad Garrett.
Right, yeah.
Not Brad Garrett. I'm sorry, Garrett Brown. But Joel and I had these scenes, and a lot of people, young people, middle-aged people, come up to me and say, "I just saw Good Trouble. I hope you don't mind. I loved it. I'm delighted, flattered, and I mean really delighted by it. It depends on how old they are, what they see, and someone will say, "God, I recognize you from what have you done?" And I'll usually say, "How old are you?"
Right.
Because if they're in their early 40s or mid 40s, then I'll say, "Well, then I all those half-hour shows, you know,
Yeah.
uh, Who's the Boss and Family Ties and Cheers, and I if they're a little older or younger, then there are a bunch of hour shows, and I'm grateful that I've had a career that continues and that is spanning time. But I'm delighted when people say something.
So like the 80s for you was like the sitcom. And then
Yeah,
it kind of like I guess progressed into like the hour-long dramas. Was it a particular reason? Did you just kind of stop going for the sitcoms or no?
I'm a shoemaker. Tell me what kind of shoes and I'll make them.
Right.
You get to make gorgeous shoes as long as you make, sandals for J.C. Penney.
Yeah.
Not that wrong with that, but I mean, no, I don't know. I just that's exactly true. I mean, the '80s, I guess half hour was just was dominant, and I love it because it has that live play vibe to it. Um, and the '90s, I did more hour shows, which I love because they're more filmic. Um, and then lately, haven't done a half hour show in a really long time. I don't even know who's making them anymore. Um, I know they're out there, but I haven't been up for one of those in a long time.
Yeah. I don't think I watched like a broadcast network sitcom years now. I don't know how many there. I mean, I love Night Court. I know they brought it back, and it's like I refuse to watch it personally.
I didn't
But
like it.
yeah,
Without him, Arnold Wiggy, it's going to be different.
yeah, exactly. And he passed. And like when you only have like one, original cast member. I mean, John Larroquette's brilliant, but the whole show, was an ensemble cast, and when they're not there, it's
I
hard.
will say the last show and the last half hour, I think, was fresh off the boat a number of years ago.
And then the Goldbergs, the first couple seasons I watched, which I thought was pretty good.
I find Jeff Garlin, no
No, I
offense, he gets on my nerves.
okay.
I was really delighted that George Siegel was having a great renaissance
Yes.
because he deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you worked with Jeff, right? An episode of Curb, right?
I did. I was cut out of it, but I did. I worked with him. There's tricky curve. I mean, he's a brilliant genius, Larry David. I'm not sure I'd want to be in a relationship with him, but I mean, his friends love him. I mean, Ted Dancer, who I've done a bunch of work with,
Yeah.
thinks he's great, and that's great. But so they say to me, "Okay, you're at the golf club, you're at the golf course, and so and so died, and we're gonna give you the news." Say, go, action. So and so died. I said, "Oh my God, are the kids okay?" Cut. Don't mention the kids. I said, "Okay." Action. So and so died. I said, "Oh my God, is his wife okay?" Cut. Don't mention his wife. So then I'm like, dude, tell me what the edge of is, because I don't know. You guys all know, but you haven't told me. So I don't think they ever got what they wanted out of me for that day. I wasn't in the final show.
Has that happened before, or since that? Yeah.
I did an episode of Caroline in the City. I think that was the only other time time I was. Oh, yeah, I've been cut out where I used to call my family. Oh, I'm going to TV,
Yeah.
and then "Oh, I didn't see you." Yeah, well, I got cut out, but I didn't know. I got fired from Caroline in the City. Wonderful uh, director, got his name. He was an actor. I forgot his name. Called me at home to say, it has nothing to do with you, but you're not going to. You don't have to come to work tomorrow. I
Okay.
just want. I was an actor. I know how it feels.
Right.
While we were rehearsing the first day or two, and I realized I'm like a 50-year-old guy hitting on this 25-year-old woman. I mean, sure, but come on, it's
Yeah.
disgusting. It's pedophilia at this point. So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I kind of felt like I don't know what Righteous Kill. So you had uh De Niro and you had Carla Gugino. They
oh,
kind of had a relationship, but they were in a boy's life together, and she played his daughter.
yeah,
So
crazy.
it was very weird, seeing that, thinking, oh my God, ugh. It's very, I know it's acting and stuff like that, but sometimes you just can't unsee that.
And when it makes an impression on you as the viewer, that you identify them in that relationship, uh, then it becomes weird.
Yeah.
Just true.
I mean, you've done so many, so there's probably got to be at least one or two bad experiences, not just being fired, but like a bad experience on a particular set. You know, the crew is nasty, the cast, director.
No.
That's good.
I mean, I will say the Golden Girls was weird because the women didn't like to hang out.
Okay.
But, and everyone goes to their dressing room. So on a situation like that, you're like, okay, well, I brought a book and I'll sit and read my book.
Mm.
I stay away from craft services so I don't eat myself to death. But no, I have to say, looking back, no, I don't think there's ever been another show that I felt bad, uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'm a big horror fan, and you were, in one of the Friday the 13th movies, Part 6, Jason Lives, and it's a brilliant scene. I mean, because it's a slasher movie, but there's some sort of comedic tone in really all of them. And it's paintball, I guess competition. Music's a little, cheesy. It's kind of, set for that. But Jason has one of the best kill scenes in the whole series. It's like a triple decapitation.
So that guy Tom, God, what is
Tom Savini.
no, the director,
Oh,
doesn't matter, but he was wonderful. He ran the Los Angeles Mime Troupe with his wife. So I learned first of all, we had a great time. He was so kind and so smart. And Whitney and Annie Ryerson, and Matthew Faison, I guess, three of us were the paintball goofballs. Um, so I learned a lot of things. They can show the machete going back, they can show it moving, they can show it coming out, but they can't show the actual cut.
okay.
So they would film it and then show it to the board of no, you can't do that in order to get it censored so they could slip in another gag that they wanted. So there was a lot of trading that would go on. I had no idea of that.
Okay.
The whole process, I wanted to get the head that they made heads of each of us.
Right.
I wanted that, but the head of Frank Mancuso Sr., the head of Paramount at the time, he had a whole storage unit filled with all that paraphernalia. I would have loved to have had that. And I was going to serve it to my mother on a platter. I thought that would be funny. On a show like that, when the director is taking such good care of the actors to make sure everyone's okay, we shot in a graveyard in Georgia, and we couldn't tell them what we were shooting because it was blasphemous. And so, that's interesting. The whole Georgia with all that stuff, that Kudzo that climbs up the trees and the building, and the red clay, that's the stuff that I remember. It was really a great time. Vinny Gustafaro and his wife were in that. It was a great time.
Yeah. Tom McLaughlin, the director.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tom, what a great guy. I auditioned for him just recently, 2 years ago, for a movie of the week or something. I'm glad he's still out there working.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And another, go back TV, one of my favorite shows was, I guess, the first season of it, because it was brilliant, was Heroes. And it was probably one of the best first seasons ever. It definitely went downhill after that, unfortunately, but
I went to Japan.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So I auditioned for that. My son had seen it. My older son said, "Oh, this is the best." I had never seen it. I show up. My friend Greg Grunberg, who's a wonderful guy and a
Right.
dear man, played his dad a couple of times.
Yeah.
My dad. They wanted Dan Aykroyd for the role.
Hmm.
I had found out, but they didn't know if it was They wouldn't give me the script, of course, because they were afraid it would be leaked. But they didn't know if I had superpowers. They didn't know if I was a good guy or a bad guy. So the first day, my first shot, they still don't know, was Maury's at the table. He stands up, grabs his jacket, walks down the hallway. Now we know why they call him the Nightmare Man. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I remembered years before Sean Cassidy directed me on a thing. It's the Stanley Kubrick look. If you put your head down and your eyes up, it looks evil. So I have a master's degree. I just need to say that. But nonetheless,
Right.
that's what I had. So I grabbed my jacket, turned around, opened the door, put my head down, my eyes up. I'm walking down the hallway. Cut! Hey, we love you. That moment, I had my phone in my pocket. They called my agent to book 2 more episodes.
Oh, great.
And it could have gone either way. Now, Greg Grunberg was magnificent. The thing about that first season, even the second season was tricky, but that first season, they were all grateful, happy, energetic, delighted to be there. They knew they had something special, but it didn't yet be, let's all go buy new cars.
Right.
It was a real joy, and I was really pleased to do as many as I did. I don't remember how many. I did a bunch, but it was really great.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I didn't watch the reboot because by then I kind of lost interest, in the show, unfortunately. But yeah, that first season and a half was groundbreaking.
They had 3 crews working simultaneously, shooting in different locations. That's very expensive, and the special effects people are doing film special effects on television budget. So really impressive. Nathan, the cameraman, Nathan Goodman taught me so much about camera and angles and what to do. And I'm forever indebted to him. It was a fantastic experience.
Now, when I have a guest on who's been on so many, different roles and show, I kind of like to play a little game to see if they actually remember every show that they were on. Do you remember every show you're on?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I have a lot of brain damage from a misspent youth.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to give you 3 shows that you may have been on and 3 shows you may not have been on. So we'll start, pretty easy here. Cheers.
Oh yeah, 2 of them.
Okay. Melrose Place.
No.
Okay. So far, both correct. Boy Meets World.
No. Wish I had.
Step by Step.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Doing great so far. I'm trying to think of a good one here. Matlock.
Oh yeah, I did 2.
Okay. And In the Heat of the Night.
No. Just before my arrival. Well, it was still going when I got here. Would have loved to have done it. Carol O'Connor was a real model of a great character actor.
Alan, I've been a fan of yours forever. Continue the great work. Everyone just turn on the TV. He's always on. With that being said, can you actually watch yourself? If you're flipping through the channels, you see something. Can you sit there and watch?
Yes. It's painful because for me, I remember how much I weighed, what diet I was on, was the costume comfortable, because I'm a neurotic Jew.
Yeah.
And that's when I was shooting, someone said, do you want to watch the monitor? Do you want to see the playback? I said, well, if I don't like it, can I redo it? They said, no. I said, then why am I going to watch it?
Watch it. All right.
I love this business. It's been it's been a great joy. It's a real ride. And I hope to do more.
Alan, thanks again.
Thanks for inviting me. What a joy to meet you, man.
And a special thanks to Alan for joining me today. And if you have a guest suggestion, you can hit me up on X, formerly Twitter, @thepersonal119, or you can like the page Living My Youth on Facebook. You can go to iTunes, check out all the past episodes we've had. While you're there, please rate and review the show. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't have iTunes? Not a problem. Shows on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, basically wherever you can find a podcast. New episode comes out next week. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you then.